I think there's another serious situation actually in recent times where the Church of England is complicit and it's becoming very dangerous. We had this story recently of the acid attack. Well, it was an alkaline, but it's easier to say acid attack. And I warned about this a couple of years ago. I said this is going to become the case. I tweeted, I believe the church provided guidance for clergy to get failed asylum seekers through the system with dodgy loopholes. Misguided, bleeding heart liberal vicars could be complicit in a recent terror attack, not to mention abuse of the Holy Sacrament of baptism. Now, we have seen in recent days, there has been another attack. So these attacks are adding up. But let's go back to the original one that I tweeted about in 2021 when I put the warning out there. So you may remember there was this bombing in Liverpool where a chap called Enzo Almani, who apparently converted to Christianity and changed his name to Enzo Al Suleiman, which I don't really think is a Christian name. However, this chap bombed the Liverpool Women's Hospital, and it's assumed that it was intended that he would bomb the Liverpool Cathedral, which is just down the road from there. He was in a taxi. I don't think he made it out of the taxi, and his bomb went off, his IED, and he caused serious harm to the driver and death to himself. But the reason this chap was in the country is because he was an asylum seeker who was claiming asylum, and he failed a few times, and then he converted to Christianity to receive asylum. And this is becoming a pattern. Now, I'm all for people converting to Christianity because, as I say, Christianity is the truth. But when it's fake, when it's abused, when it's done so at the risk of British people, that's something we should all be concerned about. So this case in particular happened a month after the death of Sir David Amos MP. So the Home Office and, well, everyone was on high alert. And so this shouldn't have gotten as far as it did. But the Home Office Select Committee at the time said there is a Liverpool Cathedral convert cluster. So they're aware of it. They're aware of what's going on in some of these dioceses where there are mass illegal immigrants suddenly converting, suspiciously so, and bleeding heart liberal vicars are putting the British public in danger. But nothing's been done about it, clearly, because 3 years later, this is still the case. And this wasn't the first instance. We had Kari Saad Allah, who murdered 3 people in Reading, a recent convert. We had an Iranian chap who raped a teenage girl, and he was actually spared deportation because he converted to Christianity. Now, our judicial system, our legal system is a mess, we know this, but when people can claim that they've recently converted in order to avoid persecution in their homeland, we should be looking at the bigger picture. And what we're actually seeing here is a merry-go-round of appeals. What we're seeing is that at taxpayers' expense, illegal immigrants or people who've entered this country illegally can claim asylum, fail, claim asylum, fail, appeal, fail, convert to Christianity, and they get to have a new appeal. This has been a repeated problem. We see people say, "Oh, I'm homosexual. I can't go back to wherever I'm from." They lose their claim, and then they say, "Oh, I've converted to Christianity. I can't go back to where I'm from." These two things are in conflict. Which one are you? Practicing homosexual or a Christian? Pick one. And so, of course, it's not about their lifestyle. It's not about them being persecuted back home. It is about them trying to trick the system, use the loopholes that we have in our system to their advantage. But the problem we're facing here is that the Church of England is complicit. So there was some guidance that went out to people in the Church of England to support asylum seekers. And if we look at some of the guidance, if a claim is refused, what can we do? Well, testimony from a church leader can help. Convincing evidence, testimonies from confirming their faith or conversion, evidence that Christians are persecuted where they come from, evidence of laws from their country which punish apostasy. So basically, here is some boxes you can tick if you want to help illegal immigrants stay in our country. If they come to your church, this is what you need to do to help them stay. And I know many priests in the Church of England, many good priests, but I also know a few priests that are bleeding heart liberals. I know there have been a few photographs of priests that have gone down to the shores to greet these illegal immigrants on their boats and assisted them every step of the way in gaining fraudulent citizenship in this country. And it's been reported on. I reported on it in 2021. It has been publicized. but there is a denial. I had word from the Bishop of London herself explicitly denying that this happens. Now, we clearly have evidence that it is happening. So my question is, what is the Home Office going to do about it? What is the Church of England going to do about it? Because people smugglers, these people who are, these gangsters who are helping illegal immigrants come over the channel, they're promoting the idea of conversion as a package almost. You come on over, you throw your paperwork in the English Channel, and then when you get on dry land, just say you're gay or say you're Christian. Jobs are good. And if you get denied, you get 5 years of stay for being denied. Why are we not deporting people who are denied? Why are we allowing people to apply constantly in this merry-go-round system of, well, you failed the first time, try again. Failed the second time, try again. Failed the third time. Keep on trying. And we are paying for it. Please, can someone explain to me why this is happening? So the church leaders need a good speaking to, because they've also been vouching at tribunals. They've been directly working with immigration lawyers. And these lawyers and these leading church leaders are working together. They're sending people to each other. The lawyers send people to the vicars they know will sign off on this stuff, and the vicars send people to the lawyers that know will help them, because not all of them will in this case. So it's a scam. And it's something that needs to be seriously addressed. We know that Bedford is a hotbed for this. We know that Liverpool is a hotbed for this. We know that Manchester is a hotbed for this, because this is where the dispersal centers are for illegal immigrants. Now, what do those cities stand out for in your head? Well, Bedford, high instances of Pakistani Muslim rape gangs. Liverpool, the Liverpool bombing. Manchester, the Manchester bombing. We need to seriously take a look at how we address illegal immigration in this country. We need to look at our judiciary. We need to look at the immigration lawyers and the loopholes they're abusing. We need to look at the Church of England, the loopholes they're abusing. There should be serious discernment if someone is saying they are converting to the Christian faith, because the sacrament of baptism is a sacrament. It is sacred, and abuse of it is sacrilege. And so all of us, all Christians, have a part to play in making sure that this is not going on, because we are all part of his body and we're all part of his church. The church isn't just the clerics. The church isn't just the priests and the bishops. The church is us. The church is each one of us that is baptized. We become his body. And so I'll leave you with that. Please give me some comments and some messages in the chat, and I will read them out later. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that story. But we've got another very important issue to address. Again, my good friend Lois McClatchy Miller is coming to join me from ADF. ADF are a great organization that look to protect fundamental human rights, and in the true sense of human rights. Lois, thank you for joining me on my first show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Not at all. Can you give us just an elevator pitch of what ADF do, please, for people who aren't aware?
Sure. Yeah. No, I'm thrilled to get to work with ADF at UK. We protect fundamental freedoms like freedom of speech to freedom of religion, the right to life for everybody. So we've been most known recently for defending those who have been arrested for praying silently in their heads. Obviously, a massive breach of human rights in the UK.
Yes, and so some of these examples have been, people might have heard the names Vaughan Spruce, Father Sean, and a father called Adam. What was Adam's surname? Sorry.
Adam Smith Connor.
There we go. Thank you. These are people who have been arrested for silently praying in their heads, and these are within these so-called buffer zones, or PSPOs. Could you give us again another elevator pitch of what these PSPOs are and how they've come into play?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Well, for many years, pro-life volunteers have gathered to offer help to women outside abortion facilities, help to choose alternative options if that's what they're interested in, or simply to pray and offer a conversation. Whilst that's been going on, unfortunately, the abortion lobby have advocated for buffer zones to be placed around clinics. To ban inverted commas harassment. Now, we all stand against harassment in any form, any kind, a woman anywhere. But these buffer zones go as far as to not only ban harassment, but also offers of help and prayer, which are good things, which should never be banned. So these were initially placed by local councils in 5 areas, but now the government has actually voted to roll buffer zones out across the country with very vague language in their legislation, banning all forms of influence.
I find it really frustrating, because whenever I see this, I think, how can someone be arrested for what they're thinking in their head? This is silent prayer that these people have been arrested for, not harassment, not abuse, not even protest, just prayer, just communicating with their God that they believe in. And whenever I tweet about it, particularly when I tweet about Isabel Vaughan Spruce, people say, oh, it's because she has an injunction against her. She's not allowed. These people aren't allowed. These PSPOs have been assigned to these people. They're not allowed in the vicinity of abortion centers. But these aren't individual injunctions, are they? The PSPO is a geographical injunction for everybody, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's not person specific at all. So nobody should be criminalized for simply the thoughts that they have in their head, prayerful or otherwise. And that's not only an opinion that you and I share with Orwell, for example, but it's actually concrete in international law that the UK must protect everybody's right to freely think in any public space. And yet we've seen these arrests for people who've just been praying silently inside their heads, not bothering anyone, not doing anything other than standing there thinking thoughts towards God. Now, fortunately, the government recently, the Home Office, looking at this legislation, saw there was a need for clarity within this law. It was banning influence, so we were all very unsure if that also would extend to criminalizing prayer. So they actually clarified in recent draft guidance that the freedom of thought is absolute. So that was a great, well, I mean, it's bare minimum, isn't it? That the
You
government
are
would
allowed to
clarify
think.
that freedom of thought is absolute, and also that consensual conversations between adults are still allowed, of course, because we still have freedom of speech. Unfortunately, the abortion lobby has still found that this has not gone far enough. Not only was it not far enough to ban harassment and to ban anyone from engaging in offering help, but they will still not be satisfied. And they are lobbying the government to change this guidance again so that they would, in fact, have these buffer zones criminalize silent prayer and consensual conversation. Now, we really hope that the government can withstand this pressure and continue to support the basic human rights that we are guaranteed in this country, to think freely, to speak freely, to offer help, and to have that offer of conversation. So many women have said that they have benefited from the offers that were made to them outside of clinics. There's a campaign group called Be Here For Me, where many women have told their stories about how they felt that there was only one option in their story, to have an abortion, and then they found out about help available, and that they were able to make an empowered choice to become a mother because of. So they want to see those consensual conversations taking place outside abortion facilities as well. It's their right to engage in those conversations. So all we are asking for is to maintain basic common sense human rights for freedom of thought and freedom of speech.
I love that because they often say, I say they, the opposition often says that these are vulnerable women, so they need to be protected. I think we're all in favor of protecting vulnerable women. But people who go out there to pray are there to support these vulnerable women. And I think that the pro-abortion lobby is misunderstanding the motives here and thinking that people are going out to abuse or harass. I don't believe there's ever been a case in this country of women being abused or harassed outside an abortion center. I don't think there have been any law cases around that. But it comes down to essentially, doesn't it, an understanding of rights. So we've got so Bernard Jenkins said this is about the right to an abortion. So it's about this legal right, he says, this legal right versus a God ordained right. The legal right to kill a child versus the God ordained right to live, the right to life.
Mhm.
What can we do about that? I mean, my initial response, Lois, would be, well, if it's a legal right and not a God ordained right, then let's get rid of the legal right. Let's remove the legal right to infanticide.
Well, let's be clear. Those who are outside of clinics are not blocking or obstructing anyone from going into an abortion facility. So, although Bernard Jenkins has tried to make this about an abortion question, this isn't an abortion question at all. It's about basic free speech and freedom of thought. But whilst we're on the topic of abortion, I think this country has not done enough. We call ourselves a pro-choice country, but that choice is not supported if one actually decides to become a mother. There's certainly plenty of access to abortion up to 24 weeks for almost all cases, which is the most extreme in Europe, and up to 40 weeks in certain scenarios, including disability. So there is access to that, but very little support for women who would actually like to make the empowered choice to become a mother. And those who are trying to be out there to give that support, to give that hope, to give that lifeline of help to those who would like to keep their children safe, are now being, thrown away by police. So it's a really bizarre situation for a country that's meant to support women.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that because I made the mistake that they often do is in conflating one issue with the other. There's the free speech, the freedom of thought issue, and then there's the abortion issue. And you mentioned people who call themselves pro-choice, but you put a very good tweet out about this recently. Um, a young woman who calls herself the pro-life Jewess, had a child out of rape because she still loved her child and she wanted to bring her child into the world regardless of the situation that started that life. And now she said that she was treated disgustingly by people who call themselves pro-choice, which goes to show that they're not actually pro-choice. They're pro-abortion. Because if you make the wrong choice, you don't get support from these people. And that just exposed their whole movement, doesn't it?
That's right. I think the abortion debate is often guilty of sidelining the voices that are really at the heart of it. And we often don't listen to women who have made that choice to become mothers and why they didn't want to have an abortion. Now, obviously, to be raped is probably one of the worst things that could ever happen to a woman. I can only have entire sympathy and know that would be just the most horrible thing to have happened. But actually, some studies have shown that those who have kept their child following through from that have found a lot of hope and meaning in that process. Whereas an abortion, often touted as a solution to the situation of rape, is far from anything. It's really a second trauma. We have the trauma of the rape, and then we encourage women to have a second trauma, a trauma of abortion. So I think there has to be a lot more listening done to a woman like I think her name is Alia or Alia, who I had tweeted about earlier, who wants to speak out about her own experience, having been through that tragic circumstance and kept her baby. Listen to her voice and ask yourselves: Are we pushing women down a path to a second trauma when there could be a different future available?
Yeah, I think rape is one of the greatest evils, and it's something we should clamp down on that evil itself and not double down on committing another evil because of one evil. And a lot of this conversation comes down to women's rights, doesn't it? What is a woman's right? Is it a woman's right to be scarred further through abortion, or is it a woman's right to change her mind? And a lot of these people that are going down to these abortion centers and praying silently, some of them are giving out leaflets with literature for these vulnerable women to help them in their decision, to help them know there is another option, a better option. Surely that's a woman's right too, the woman's right to change
Right.
her mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this criminalization of influence is very concerning because we are all influencing each other all the time. It's our legal right to seek to be influenced. We're having a conversation, you and me, just now, Calvin, where I'm potentially influencing you, and vice versa, because we share our opinions. And that is somebody's right as well. If they're making a big decision, like the decision to have an abortion, and they want to have all the information available, that if they, is it an economic reason that they're making this choice? If they had funding available, would they make a different choice? That's empowering for a woman to be able to know about support available and to become a mother. So stripping back that choice, it removes choice. Buffer zones are not pro-choice; they're no choice. They remove rights, they remove choices from women who would like to have all the information available. And I think it's fundamentally backwards to be doing this. It's not a pro-woman move at all.
Yes, I mean, abortion is the greatest killer of people around the world. And I think we're wiping ourselves out. And it's a great sadness,
Mm.
something that I think we should repent of and try to change. But I saw another tweet of yours recently that I think scared me even more, that this is not going to end here. These PSPOs, these buffer zones, these silencing of thoughts and speech around the issue of abortion won't end with abortion. It could potentially go next to other safeguarding evils of gender clinics.
Right. I mean, what's to stop it? Once you have legitimized the censorship of one conversation, what's to stop this happening against others? And that's what I was really trying to convince the free speech movement of throughout this buffer zones debate is even if you are not supportive of the pro-life position, even if you are supportive of abortion, it's still so important to keep those conversations free and open. For all opinions, because tomorrow it might be your opinion that's censored. So, if we have a buffer zone around an abortion clinic because people fear about those accessing those services changing their mind, then why not also have a buffer zone around a gender clinic where potentially vulnerable children and young people and young adults are seeking, um, life-changing surgeries, and to place, a 150-meter ban on anyone saying, a mother saying, "Are you sure? Do you really want to do this? Can we talk about it some more? What can I do to support you? Because I think that you were born in the right body, and I think that you are loved the way you are." So to censor those conversations, there's no reason why the government would not look there next, or if God forbid, one day euthanasia was to be introduced in our country, to have conversations around clinics like that, to say, are you sure? Is there something that I can do to make you feel more loved and valued, and convince you to make a different decision? So the slippery slope of censorship is often mocked as if it's, never going to happen, but there's no reason why it wouldn't.
I love the way you put that because that's what they're doing. They're censoring love. We're not able to offer love, that love and support, and they're painting it up as harassment. Harassment is the word they often use, and I looked it up. It's aggressive pressure or intimidation. I don't think silent prayer could be described as either aggressive pressure or intimidation. And I think, again, it comes up to the double standards we're seeing in our society when silent prayer is being seen as aggressive pressure and intimidation. Singing hymns outside of a church is seen as intimidation or aggression. Yet other attitudes and other protests are not. That double standards in our policing, that double standards in our legal system is being exposed quite heavily at the moment. And I think people are going to start to say enough is enough. Something needs to be done. There needs to be an equalization across the board. This silent prayer is not intimidation, but what we're seeing over there in the streets of Westminster is. Please address it. But anyway, I won't put that question to you. But thank you, Lois. Thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for all of the hard work you're doing on this good fight. Keep it up. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Kevin.
To get full access to the crusade, subscribe for £5 a month at lotuseaters.com.